Hello fight fans, thanks for joining us at MMA Insider. Before we get rolling with today's news, show some love by hitting that like button and subscribing. Now let's uncover the latest happenings in MMA. Starting off, Conor McGregor confirms UFC shot down rumored boxing match against Logan Paul. Moving on, Dricus Du Plessis cautions fellow UFC champ Islam Makhachev about middleweight move. Lastly, Alexander Volkanovski reveals ideal time frame for next UFC fight. Conor McGregor has confirmed the UFC shot down his planned boxing match against Logan Paul. Conor McGregor hasn't been seen in action since his trilogy bout against Dustin Poirier in mid-2021. That night saw Conor McGregor snap his leg in the final seconds of the first round in a brutal injury. While the Irishman promised a return to the cage by the end of 2022, that return never came. Even when McGregor booked a comeback fight against Michael Chandler last year, he withdrew due to injury. However, Dana White has revealed that the former UFC champion's comeback is currently planned for this fall. Ahead of his return to the cage, Conor McGregor was angling for a return to the boxing ring. Nearly a decade removed from his fight against Floyd Mayweather, the Irishman was in talks for a $250 million dance with Logan Paul. The bout was reportedly being eyed for April in India. However, rumors about Conor McGregor versus Logan Paul have been dying down for a few weeks. Speaking in a recent interview with The Schmo, Conor McGregor was asked about how talks were going with the influencer turned World Wrestling Entertainment star. There, Conor McGregor revealed that the UFC rejected the potential boxing match. While Conor was on board for the glorified sparring session, Dana White and company weren't fans. However, McGregor still hopes to return to the cage later this year. It was business savvy and business sense to make the fight happen. Or should I say the glorified spar happen. And in between this waiting period that we find ourselves in before I can get back to the octagon, it made perfect sense on the calendar to go ahead with it. The UFC weren't into it. I'm not sure the World Wrestling Entertainment what their interest was, I just knew the UFC weren't into it. Dricus Du Plessis is solely focused on defending his title against Sean Strickland at UFC 312. So he did make much of Islam Makhachev's comments about a potential move to middleweight. Following this past weekend's lightweight title defense against Renato Moicano at UFC 311, Makhachev, 27-1 MMA, 16-1 UFC, said he thinks he's capable of winning UFC belts in 3 divisions. He specifically mentioned Du Plessis at 185 pounds as a fight he wouldn't hesitate to accept, despite seemingly being much smaller in stature. Du Plessis, 22-2 MMA, 8-0 UFC, who will attempt to retain his title against the man he took it from 13 months ago in Strickland on the February 8th card at Kudos Bank Arena in Sydney, has not given Makhachev's comments much thought, he said. However, he can only see one scenario where that type of champ vs champ fight ever comes together. I guess good on him for trying that. He won't get that fight now. It wouldn't make sense. But if there should ever be a time where there is nobody to challenge me, nobody for him to challenge, yeah, cool. Although he respects the confidence and ambition of Makhachev, it's hard for Du Plessis to get past what he thinks would be a rather sizable edge in size over the Dagestan product, who has won 15 consecutive UFC fights. Look, he trains with 185ers in his gym. But there is only one world champion. So kudos to him for saying what he did, but it doesn't really matter because I'll overpower him in any situation. I know he walks around heavy, but I walk around heavy. He's a big lightweight, I'm a big middleweight. There's a big difference there. Alexander Volkanovski has an idea of when he'd like to return to the octagon. After a rough end to 2023, things weren't much better in 2024 for the former UFC featherweight champion inside the octagon. Volkanovski suffered a head kick knockout loss to lightweight champion Islam Makhachev, and then went on to lose the featherweight gold to Ilia Topuria via another brutal KO. Now that he's had some time to rest, Volkanovski feels he knows when the right time to return to action would be. Speaking to Sky Sports New Zealand, Alexander Volkanovski was asked when he hopes to throw leather again. Volkanovski said that while he's pushing for a return this spring, he isn't too sure of plans from the UFC brass. Like I said, nothing's completely locked in. I was talking about being ready for March, April. They don't have an exact date, but I would say in a couple of months, few months. So yeah, I think the April date does look good, but you never know. Volkanovski's last fight was the title loss to Ilia back in February 2024. Many fans are happy that Volkanovski has taken some time off to recovery from back-to-back knockout losses. While some have called for the former 145-pound king to take on Diego Lopes, Volkanovski has insisted that his next fight is for UFC gold. Lopes also has a fight against Yair Rodriguez reportedly in the works for March 29th. The question remains, what does Ilia do next? The reigning featherweight title holder has teased moving up to the lightweight division despite promising Volkanovski a title rematch. Thank you so much for tuning into today's video. Your dedication and support fuel our passion to bring you the latest and greatest in the MMA world. If you enjoyed today's news, please give us a thumbs up and share it with fellow MMA fans. Remember to subscribe to stay in the loop with daily MMA updates. We've got a lot of exciting news, interviews, and analysis coming your way every single day. Your engagement helps us grow and serve the MMA community even better. Once again, thank you for being an integral part of our daily MMA journey.